Revenge, Book 2 in the New World series. Written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie.
"Get down, James. Get down," Hetfield hissed urgently. He and Douglas hunkered down behind a dead tree stump, just under the canopy of the copse where Baines had crashed a couple of days earlier. Less than 30 meters ahead, and just to the left of them, was a dinosaur. "That's Cuthbert," Hetfield whispered. Douglas shot him a look of surprise. He, too, recognized the creature, though they had hardly been on first-name terms when they parted. Hetfield held a finger to his lips. "We must be careful. He has excellent hearing." "Cuthbert?" Douglas mouthed. Hetfield grinned. "It's what I call him. We used to have a paleontologist. He did the animals, Kelly the plants. And that's how it worked. Sadly, Vince died years ago from a viral infection. Most of us got it, but he trailed off sadly. Anyway, Vince told me the name of these critters, Tyranotitan. I remembered the name because it's close to Tyrannosaurus. We all know that one, right? Cuthbert is about 10 years old now. I've watched him grow from a chick, but he's begun to change more rapidly this last year. He's making 3 times the number of kills he used to make, and stacking on the weight at a prodigious rate. You can almost see him growing, James. It was the same with his mother." "His mother?" "Shh," Hetfield waved him down. "Yeah, she must be about, close to 30 now? She hunts a huge territory, so we don't see her that often these days, which is a very good thing, I can tell you. We always know when she's going to come a-visiting, though, because Junior over there always makes himself scarce." "He's afraid of his own mother?" Hetfield nodded, and with good reason. She'd kill him in the blink of an eye, if she could catch him, which I doubt. At his age, they're too fast. Anyhow, he doesn't give her the opportunity, and I'd call that a real wise attitude. "Fast runner, is he?" "Are you kidding? He can run like hell. Way faster than we are, or ever were, speaking for myself," admitted the old man. "If he lives, he'll grow to almost twice his length and 10 times his mass over the next decade. Matilda was the same. It's incredible. Of course, he may not make it, but I hope he does." Douglas raised an eyebrow as if the old man were mad. "You hope he does?" Hetfield smiled wryly. "James, this is our home. And it's a most beautiful home. I make no bones about how dangerous it is, I'll grant you that. But we've watched these creatures within our little valley grow from eggs. They're the closest things we have to children. We've led extraordinary lives here, and even if it all ended tomorrow, I wouldn't have changed a thing. Hell, I would never have got with Kelly if we hadn't been stranded here. What a poor schmo I would have been then, huh?" The light of understanding came to Douglas's eye as he studied the young commander, now an old man, at his side. He nodded slowly. "And now we've turned up, trying to take it all away. I'm sorry, Moore." Hetfield waved a hand. "No, it's really not like that, James. God knows we're glad to see you guys. You've no idea how we've missed you all. But the 22nd century? Not so much. I can't tell you how desperately we need the parts from the Newfoundland, but it's your call. I'll no steal them from you. I know, James." Hetfield patted him on the shoulder. "And so does Kelly. The simple truth is, one or other of us will probably be too slow or too weak to climb or jump out of the way one of these days, and that will leave one alone. I would hate to leave Kelly behind, Captain. You've given me hope that I won't have to now. You don't need to feel bad about it. We're with you, son. Now come on. Let's see about getting those parts, huh?" "And what about young Cuthbert over there?" Douglas asked dubiously. "No problem." Hetfield pulled a remote device from one of his many pockets. "I have this area mined, just in case we need to clear a way home. It happens occasionally." "I thought you wanted Cuthbert to grow up." The old man chuckled softly. "Watch this." A loud bang erupted from the ground near the adolescent Tyranotitan. Shocked, it reared angrily in confusion. But before it could calm itself, Hetfield reset his remote and flicked the switch for a second time. Another small but very loud explosion went off right behind the creature. This proved enough, and with a resentful roar, Cuthbert ran away from them, climbing the trackway Baines's lifeboat had left in the earth. Douglas marveled at the speed with which the animal bounded up such a steep incline. Hetfield was right. They would have had no chance of outrunning it. More astonishing still, it just kept going. That thing must be a hell of a long-distance runner. You have no idea, Hetfield agreed, and you really never want to find out. You say his mother's called Matilda? Yeah. Douglas blew out his cheeks. Hope none of our people meet her. Hetfield answered noncommittally. Come on, James. Let's get what we need before he recovers and makes his way back. He's easily spooked, but he's no coward. Gets smarter by the day, too. Or should I say, more devious. An hour later, they were safely back within the Newfoundland and working on her fuel system once more. 2 hours after that, they were ready for a second attempt. It was still early, so assuming they got off the ground without turning over 1/2 kilometer of fuel, ceramic and steel into a second sun, they would still have the better part of the day to search the nearby area for the new world. Douglas felt like he had a gut full of hummingbirds. He felt nervous for all the things that could go wrong, of course, but what really turned his innards over was the thought of seeing his ship again. It had not occurred to him until that moment just how much he had missed her, and how much he feared for her. Hey, Kel, Hatfield called out, turning around to face his lifelong partner. If we're traveling east, I wonder if we'll see Daisy and Gertrude. Gee, I hope so, Moore. I'd love to see them one last time before we leave. I know it sounds nuts, but I can't help it. I'm really going to miss those girls. Girls? Asked Baines. If we're going east, we should see them, Marston explained. She smiled sadly. They usually pass the springtime in that part of the valley. They're so beautiful. Baines returned her smile reassuringly. There's a lot of beautiful things to see, Kelly, I promise. She turned to face the main viewports and took a deep breath. Okay, James, we've activated everything we can think of. Now it's up to you. Gently, please. Douglas began the engine start sequence. Aye, aye, Captain. Coxedge's eyes widened in astonishment. You wish to join us? She moved quickly, stepping behind Major White and grasping his arm. It's a trick. I'm your prisoner. You have a duty to protect me. White shook her off irritably. Now he's offering peace, and you don't think we should trust him? I'd ask whose side are you on, lady, but what the hell would be the point? He turned to Meritus, scrutinizing him closely. Are you on the level with this? Meritus eyed him calmly. We should talk privately, Major. White nodded slowly. Devil's advocate, what if we went back inside and then held you hostage? Then that would be a mistake, Meritus replied coldly. You really are better off dealing with me than... He gestured to the people behind him in the attack ship. I've some good men and women under my command, Major. However, more than a few grew up in a regime not unlike the Hitler Youth movement. I can control their excesses, but left to their own devices, I fear they might make all the wrong choices. And believe me, they are nothing compared with those who will follow. Am I making myself clear? Clearer by the second, White agreed. Very well. I think there are some folks you should meet. Schultz waded through the shallows of the river crossing. They had followed the vehicle tracks and could clearly see the chewed-up earth on the other side, where the personnel carriers had climbed out of the water and up the opposite bank. As she approached midway, a sail broke the water off to her right, to the east. She froze, her mind racing. Run or remain still? A huge head surfaced and snorted, clearing its nostrils for air. It sniffed, gradually turning towards them. Run! She cried. Decision made. Her small party moved as quickly as they dared through the shallows, but the water's resistance coupled with slippery, uneven pebbles, made the going treacherous. They were almost at the far bank when the crimson Oxalea reached the shallows and stepped up out of the river. Water cascaded from its flanks as it towered over them, spiny sail blocking the morning sun to cast shadow across the terrified humans. The water and irregular bed may have slowed Schultz's team, but to the giant, it represented no obstacle at all. Before they reached the other side, it was upon them. Its roar was terrifying. The first weapon in its arsenal, and it worked. 3 of Schultz's number fell into the river, their panic to get away causing them to lose their footing. The Oxalea snapped at all 3 men, killing them instantly. The bodies were allowed to drop back into the river, turning it red where they fell. The animal was in a killing mood, obviously deciding it could come back for them later after securing the full catch. One of the men was bitten in half, so it allowed itself the torso as a snack to drive its appetite and bloodlust. Schultz's eyes widened in shock. The rest of her party screamed, and the mad scramble for the bank began. The dinosaur snapped like a crocodile, its size and reach unanswerable. Another 2 men and a woman were caught in its jaws, just for the briefest second. But the snap carried the force of tons, large crocodile-like teeth penetrating them all the way through. The beast dropped them like broken blood bags, and moving forward, stepped on another man, crushing him into the stones of the riverbed without even seeing him. Schultz and her remaining 5 troops made the bank just seconds after spotting the creature, the whole devastating encounter happening so quickly they barely had time to register their peril. With a firm footing at last, they turned to face the attack. Freeing the small hand weapons Meritus had allowed them, they brought them to bear, and the sporadic crack of small arms fire soon echoed across the valley. Pinpricks stinging its face, chest, and forelimbs, Oxalea roared in fury. A final snap of defiance collecting another man from the bank to crush him between savage jaws. It knew better than to risk serious injury and retreated quickly, snatching its head back, bird-like, to swallow the struggling man whole. Schultz crashed roughly onto her behind, breathing deeply. "That was close. For most of my team, too close." In an instant, she had lost 8 of her personnel, 7 men and a woman. She glanced at her remaining followers. The only remaining woman, other than herself, seemed to have damaged her ankle in the scramble. Schultz assessed her coldly. "If she cannot move quickly, we may have to leave her behind." "Can you walk?" she asked. The woman got to her feet shakily. Clearly in pain, she nodded bravely. "Then bind it quickly. Come, we must go."
"Are they crazy?" Gleason asked the small assembly in the mess. "They want me as a representative?"
The New World had just received a coded message from the pod recalling Gleason as senior officer to join a discussion about their new reality.
"Sir," Singh tried, "you're in command. But as you said yourself, I can't leave the ship. Would you rather send Hiro?"
Chief Nasaki straightened, momentarily offended, but then shrugged, accepting the truth behind the thinly veiled insult.
"Besides, Hiro's needed here even more than I am." Singh patched him up a little.
Patricia Norris interrupted as politely as possible. "Might I make a suggestion?"
"Of course, Doctor,"
Gleason invited. "Thank you, Commander. Maybe Dr. Miller and I should go, as we both sit on the advisory council. We could take the wheeled personnel carrier with an experienced driver and see what this new situation actually is."
"That could be dangerous, Patricia," Singh pointed out. "Putting aside for a moment what might be happening back at the pod, that's not a journey to make lightly."
"I agree, but we can add little to your efforts here. These are, after all, engineering problems, and Jim has to go back anyway to oversee the manufacturing of the parts you'll need. Most importantly, it will leave our only armament, that little tank outside, here, in my opinion, where it should be, guarding this ship. Your abilities as a soldier cannot be questioned, Commander. I'd feel easier in my mind if I knew you were also here, protecting the New World." She smiled disarmingly at the Australian. "Also, I have to say that I agree with you."
"You do?"
asked Gleason. "Yes," she stated simply. "Please know that I have so much respect for your courage, ability, and ingenuity, Commander. But if we're choosing an ambassador for this embassy,
I think you should be on the reserve team." Gleason brightened. "When you're right, you're right. Besides, if all the talk goes nowhere and we need someone to make them leave, I've got you on speed dial," she added with a wink. "So, we're all staying here then," Singh stated, eyeing the senior officers. Gleason shook his head ruefully. "Back where we started, mate. Ain't that always the way?" "Captain Meritus," Mother Sarah greeted coolly. "You'll forgive me if I don't shake hands with you?" Meritus retracted his proffered hand, turning it into a smart salute instead. Patel, his expression non-committal, gestured to a seat around the large table that dominated one of the lecture rooms within the pod's science department. "Won't you please sit, Captain?" Also present were Major White and Dr. Sam Burton in his capacity as pod chief of operations. "You will forgive us, I'm sure, Captain," added Patel. "Our full leadership is rather dispersed at the moment." Meritus managed a wry smile.
Trust me, I know. I've witnessed their work abroad. Now, shall we continue trading carefully polite, carefully masked barbs, or shall we see if we can bring this unpleasantness to a profitable conclusion for us all?
Patel nodded.
"We are listening, Captain. We have been attacked constantly and without mercy since we boarded this pod. Make no mistake, we want it to end, but I warn you, not at any cost."
Meritus nodded, taking stock of the others at the table.
Schultz was wrong about these people, as she was about so many things. I see no weakness in them. That's probably just as well, too. They're going to need steel if they're to survive what's coming next. "Dr. Patel," he began. "Lady and gentlemen, we've all suffered and been weakened by the events that have brought us to this moment. I don't blame you for meeting our combative stance with aggression of your own. In fact, I admire you for it. I was assured by Dr. Heidi Schultz that you were leaderless and soft." He chuckled ruefully. "The destruction of my ship, and without a true weapon to your name, would suggest otherwise. Yours was a deeply impressive strategy, but costly. Now it must be obvious to all of us here that the Schultzes are quite mad." "Hear, hear," said White. "What you don't know is that there was a beacon aboard the Last Word. It was only to be activated after we'd taken possession of Factory Pod 4. However, Heidi sneaked aboard after your Captain Baines so gracefully delivered my ship to the bottom of that ravine and activated it. It's been broadcasting for almost 24 hours now." "Broadcasting what exactly?" asked Burton. "A signal through time," replied Meritus. "How?" asked Patel, leaning forward. "Forgive me, doctors, but that is a little outside my area of expertise." "Your expertise being killing people," Sarah stated flatly. Meritus stared at her for a long moment. "To my certain knowledge, you people have killed more than 60 of my own and seriously injured almost 30 more. I can tell you the names of each and every one of those people, Mom. Would you like to hear the roll call of my dead?" She did not answer. "I've ordered no attack on your people, have killed no one," he continued. "Yet I am here offering peace, when I could so easily have wreaked revenge upon you all." A stony silence fell as the pod crew looked from one to another uncomfortably. Eventually, Patel offered, "We did not begin this violence, Captain. Although you yourself may not have killed any of our number yet, you are part of an expeditionary force to do just that." "Not necessarily. Since I have been here, you have been the aggressors. But I did not come here to debate you, Doctor, nor to score points over past mistakes, whoever is responsible for them. No, the important thing is this. Heinrich Schultz, Heidi's grandfather, has a small fleet of warships waiting in the 22nd century to jump here upon completion of our mission. He may well be on his way to join us already. His fleet could arrive at any time." "Maybe you will forgive me, Captain," Sarah spoke into the sudden silence.
But if you're expecting to be heavily reinforced, why should you care about making deals with us now?
Meritus smiled. You have struck to the heart of the matter, Mother Sarah. First, I remind you of my previous statement. The Schultzes are insane. Secondly, we did not arrest possession of the pod away from you before the message was sent. It seems that to do so now, we would have to take it from you by force. I could do this, of course, but it would be a costly action both in terms of lives and material. When Heinrich Schultz arrives, he will be furious. He will perceive this as an unequivocal failure to carry out his orders. If I do not take this pod from you now, he will be correct. Heidi may think her familial relationship to that old tyrant will save her, but I have doubts. She was the one to activate your shuttle's homing beacon, which I suspect caused Captain Baines's overreaction, shall we call it? You might, White drawled. I'd call it evening the odds. Meritus smiled again. Anyhow, I believe Heidi's arrogance and continual disregard for my orders cost us our battleship. She may be able to cast the blame onto me, perhaps, but either way, I expect summary execution when the old man arrives. Like yourselves, I don't believe in sitting around and waiting for the enemy to come and kill me. So, you may well think that, unable to fight my way in here without damaging the prize, I'm simply trying to talk my way in instead. Consequently, I don't doubt that you have reservations about trusting me. You think? Burton interrupted. Naturally, Meritus acceded. But let me explain my position. White leaned forward. You need us to save your ass. Major, whether you decide to accept my offer or not, you will see that I still have significant resources and many loyal personnel at my disposal. When the old man does get here, do you really think I will go down so easily? White gave him an appraising look. No, he admitted grudgingly. Meritus continued. What I meant was, let me explain my philosophical position. This comment raised eyebrows around the table. Each member of the pod staff irresistibly reminded of Del Bond down in the cells. Unaware of their ire, Meritus stated, I'm no Nazi. I'm simply a soldier. Just following orders, huh? Interjected Sarah. No! Meritus slapped his hand, palm down on the table, showing the first sign of irritation. This has nothing to do with ethics or blindly following orders. I know Heinrich Schultz is a monster, but he is a monster with a plan, and that plan is to save at least some people when the human world ends. I know you guys are all about hope and scientific endeavor, but we all know that Mars is a pipe dream, too little too late. The human race is doomed. There's no way Mars will be viable to transplant enough of the population quickly enough to save us. You're a man of science, Dr. Patel. You tell me, what do we have, 50 years before the end? 30? 20 even? Patel looked uncomfortable. That's hard to say with any surety, Captain. Meritus gave him a look of sufferance. Come, Doctor. Let's not be coy. Schultz is the only man with a plan to save the human race, but it's a flawed plan. It took an evil genius to come up with such a scheme, so naturally it comes with a certain bias. He reached for a glass and the pitcher of water at the center of the table, helping himself. Schultz's plan to reboot the human race may be our only chance to continue the story of our kind. However, his selective approach is limited and naive. But let's leave good and evil out of this for a minute. You have the people and the knowledge aboard this pod to recreate all the glories of humanity. I know this, but Schultz will have no part of it. Together, your brains and resources, coupled with my muscle, could survive this world, possibly forever, if we learn from our mistakes. And I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that this is lesson 1
A deep rumbling began to shake the water in the pitcher, making the ice and the glasses tinkle together on the tray. Gradually, it became louder, and the 5 seated around the table were drawn as one towards the window. 3 black objects approached them from the eastern horizon, growing quickly. Their nature soon became clear as 3 vessels loomed large in the sky. All black, they roared overhead, shaking the very deck plates the watchers stood upon, and as the swell died away, Meritus spoke into the silence left in their wake. "I would love to let you people discuss the pros and cons of this lesson, but unless I'm not mistaken, that was the final bell."
Revenge, Book 2 in the New World series. Written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie. New installments are uploaded weekly. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like or comment. Visit the link in the description for free New World companion stories, available for download as ebooks.